The Wanderer's Gamble. The stars shimmered against the dark void, each one a distant beacon of light. Captain Saragrom sat at the helm of her ship, the Wandering Fortune, a vessel she had painstakingly restored from a stripped hull. Once a proud destroyer in the Earth Collaborative Navy, it was now a testament to her determination and skill. Sarah had turned it into a formidable ship, capable of both combat and stealth, a far cry from the wreck it once was. Today, the ship was en route to a rendezvous point deep in uncharted space. These meetings often felt like a gamble, a roll of the dice where the stakes were life and death. Sarah had faced pirates, mercenaries, and even the occasional rogue AI in these lawless regions. But the Wandering Fortune was no easy target. Armed to the teeth and shielded by advanced stealth systems, it was more than capable of holding its own. As the ship approached the designated coordinates, a purple haze began to envelop it. This was no ordinary nebula. It was a dimensional foam, a gateway that allowed ships to traverse vast distances in mere moments. Sarah's crew, seasoned and disciplined, took their positions without needing a single command. They knew the drill. They knew that in this part of space, complacency could be fatal. "Prepare for breach," Sarah ordered, her voice calm but firm. The ship shuddered slightly as it passed through the foam, the sensation of cold and heat tingling in her extremities. It was a familiar discomfort, one that every member of the crew had grown used to over the years. The sensors flared to life as they emerged into normal space. "All clear, Captain," the sensor operator reported, but something felt off. The rendezvous point was empty. No ships, no signals, nothing but the vast emptiness of space. "Hold position," Sarah commanded, her instincts telling her to be cautious. Just as she was about to order a full scan, a communication alert flashed on the console. "Incoming hail, Captain." "Put it through," she said, leaning forward. A voice crackled over the speakers, smooth and unsettlingly calm. "Greetings, Wandering Fortune. I see you have arrived safely." Sarah frowned. The voice didn't introduce itself, which was unusual for these kinds of dealings. "Who am I speaking to?" she asked, her tone neutral but edged with suspicion. "My names are not important at this moment," the voice replied. "I am here to discuss a matter of mutual interest." Before Sarah could respond, the ship's systems began to blare with alerts. Electromagnetic disturbances, gravitational anomalies, and more. The deck vibrated under her feet, a sensation that sent a chill down her spine. "Captain, we've got a situation here." The sensor operator shouted, panic creeping into his voice. Every screen on the bridge was flashing red, and the air seemed to thrum with an unnatural energy. Then, just as suddenly as it began, the chaos stopped. A figure appeared on the bridge, out of thin air, and Sarah's blood ran cold. The anti-boarding turrets swiveled to target the intruder, but they wavered, unable to get a lock. The figure was humanoid, but its features were indistinct, like a being made of smoke and shadow. It turned towards Sarah, a smirk forming on its otherwise featureless face. Now, Captain," it said, its voice echoing as if spoken from multiple mouths. "We shall not have violence today." Sarah's hand hovered over the emergency alarm. "Who are you?" she demanded, forcing herself to stay calm. The figure's presence was unnerving, but she had faced worse. She would not let fear take hold. "I have many names," the figure replied, its form shifting slightly. "But for now, you may call me Hermes. I have come to offer you a deal." "A deal," Sarah repeated, her eyes narrowing. "You appear on my ship uninvited, disrupt my systems, and now you want to make a deal." Hermes chuckled, a sound that seemed to vibrate the very air. "Indeed, Captain. You see, your universe is special. Out of all the countless realms, only this one has created beings like you, humans, with your unique blend of creativity and determination." Sarah's mind raced. This was no ordinary encounter. Hermes, if that was even its real name, was something far beyond her understanding. "What do you want?" she asked, her voice steady. "I want to test you," Hermes said, its smirk widening. to see just how far humanity can go, and in return, I will give you the opportunity of a lifetime. Sarah's heart pounded in her chest. A test, an opportunity. This was not how she had expected this mission to go, but she was no stranger to high stakes. What kind of test? She asked, her curiosity piqued despite the danger. Hermes's form shifted again, becoming more solid, more real. A journey, it said, through the darkest corners of the universe. A path that only the bravest and most capable can survive. If you succeed, the rewards will be beyond your wildest dreams. But if you fail, Sarah didn't need the figure to finish the sentence. She knew what failure meant out here. But the promise of a reward, of something more than just survival, she couldn't ignore it. I'm listening, she said, her voice filled with resolve. Hermes nodded, as if pleased by her response. Good, very good, then let us begin. The test of resolve. Sarah's mind was racing as the figure of Hermes faded into the background, leaving behind a sense of unease that clung to the air like mist. The challenge presented was unlike anything she had ever encountered, and it tugged at her innate curiosity and ambition. Captain, what now? Her first officer asked, his voice steady but tinged with concern. Sarah took a deep breath, steadying herself. We proceed with caution, she replied, her eyes narrowing as she gazed at the screens. We've been given a test, and we're going to pass it. The crew exchanged uneasy glances but trusted their captain. Sarah had led them through many harrowing missions, and they believed in her ability to navigate whatever lay ahead. The Wandering Fortune was more than just a ship. It was a symbol of their unity and resilience. Set a course for the coordinates Hermes provided, Sarah ordered, watching as the helmsman input the data. The ship hummed with energy as it altered its trajectory, moving toward an unknown destination. Every crew member was at their station, eyes glued to their instruments, ready for anything. As the ship accelerated, the space around them began to warp. Stars twisted and stretched, and the darkness seemed to close in on them. The sensation was disorienting, but the crew remained focused. They had been through strange phenomena before, but this felt different, more intense, more purposeful. Suddenly, the ship lurched as if struck by an unseen force. The lights flickered, and alarms blared throughout the bridge. Captain, we're experiencing a massive gravitational pull, the navigator shouted, struggling to keep the ship on course. Stabilize the thrusters. Sarah barked, gripping the armrests of her chair as the ship shuddered violently. The crew scrambled to adjust the controls, fighting against the overwhelming forces threatening to tear the ship apart. For a moment, it seemed as if they were doomed. The hull creaked under the strain, and the bridge was bathed in red warning lights. But slowly, ever so slowly, the thrusters began to compensate, pushing back against the pull. The ship's violent shaking eased, and the alarms quieted. Report, Sarah demanded, her voice sharp. Gravitational anomaly neutralized, the navigator replied, his hands still trembling slightly from the ordeal. We're back on course, but we're entering a region of space that's unlike anything in our charts. Sarah nodded, her mind racing. This must be part of the test, she muttered to herself before addressing the crew. Keep your eyes open. We're in uncharted territory, and anything could happen. The Wandering Fortune pressed forward into the unknown, the tension on the bridge palpable. Every sensor was tuned to maximum sensitivity, scanning for any signs of danger. The crew was on edge, but they were professionals. They knew how to keep their cool under pressure. Minutes turned into hours as the ship navigated through the strange, twisting region of space. The stars were distant and faint, and the darkness seemed to press in from all sides. The crew worked in silence, each one focused on their task, knowing that their lives depended on it. Just when it seemed as if the tension would never end, the sensors picked up a signal, faint but unmistakable. Captain, we're detecting an energy signature ahead, the sensor operator reported, his voice a mix of relief and caution. On screen, Sarah ordered. The main display flickered to life, showing a massive structure in the distance. It was like nothing they had ever seen, a colossal, floating fortress of alien design, surrounded by swirling clouds of energy. The sight was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. The fortress pulsed with a strange, otherworldly light, and its sheer size was overwhelming. "What in the universe is that?" the first officer muttered, his eyes wide with disbelief. Sarah didn't answer immediately. She was too busy taking in the details, her mind racing as she tried to understand what they were looking at. "This is it," she finally said, her voice a rift in the stars. Captain Sarah Grom felt a sudden shift in the atmosphere, as if the universe itself had taken a deep breath and held it. The figure that had appeared on the bridge was no ordinary being. It exuded a presence that seemed to warp the very fabric of reality around it. Sarah's crew, experienced and hardened, exchanged uneasy glances. They had faced numerous threats, but this was unlike anything they had encountered. As Sarah squared her shoulders, she tried to steady her voice. "I don't care who you are or what you represent. We were hired for a job, and we're going to complete it. If you have a problem with that, you can leave." The figure's response was an almost musical ripple of laughter. "You misunderstand, Captain. I am not here to threaten you, but to offer you an opportunity. An opportunity to prove the ingenuity and courage of your kind." Sarah's eyes narrowed. "And what exactly do you want from us?" The figure took a step closer, and the room seemed to grow colder. "There is a disturbance in the galactic core, a rift, if you will. It threatens to unravel the very structure of this universe. You, Captain, are uniquely positioned to help mend it." Sarah glanced at her crew. They were tense, but their eyes reflected the same curiosity and determination she felt. The challenge presented was daunting, but it was also an opportunity to prove humanity's worth. She could see the determination in their faces. They were ready for a challenge, no matter how formidable. "We're not exactly equipped for cosmic repairs," Sarah said. "Our ship's capabilities are more suited to small-scale operations and skirmishes." The figure smiled, an expression that seemed to shift between multiple faces. "This ship of yours, the Wandering Fortune, is more than just a vessel. It is a testament to human innovation and resilience, and it is precisely what you need for this mission." The bridge was filled with an uncomfortable silence. Sarah's mind raced. This mission was risky, possibly beyond their capabilities, but it could also be their chance to demonstrate the extraordinary qualities of humanity. She weighed the options carefully, knowing that any decision would impact not only their lives, but potentially the stability of the universe. After a moment of consideration, Sarah nodded. "All right, we'll take on your mission, but I need to know exactly what we're up against and how we can repair this rift." The figure's form shimmered and then solidified into a more defined shape, showing a creature that was a blend of various extraterrestrial features, tentacles, scales, and a bioluminescent aura. "Follow me," it said, leading Sarah and her team to a holographic display that materialized in the middle of the bridge. The display showed a chaotic swirl of colors and energies. "This is the rift," the figure explained. "It is tearing through the galactic core, and if not addressed, it will destabilize the entire galaxy. We have managed to contain it somewhat, but the situation is deteriorating." Sarah's gaze was fixed on the display. "And how do we stop it?" The figure's eyes, which seemed to glow with ancient wisdom, met Sarah's. "You must enter the rift and stabilize it from within. Your ship's unique modifications should allow you to navigate through the turbulent energies. However, you will face challenges, both environmental and possibly hostile forces." Sarah swallowed hard. The prospect was terrifying, but it was also a call to action that she could not ignore. She turned to her crew, each one of them a pillar of strength and resolve. "We'll prepare for this mission," Sarah declared, "but I need to know more about what we're facing. I want detailed information on any potential threats inside the rift and the best strategies for stabilization." The figure nodded approvingly. "I will provide you with all the information you need. Time is of the essence, so make your preparations swiftly." As the figure faded from view, Sarah could sense the weight of their task pressing down on her. The wandering Fortune and its crew were about to embark on an unprecedented journey into the heart of a galactic catastrophe. The crew's unity and their ship's capabilities would be tested to their limits. Sarah turned to her crew with renewed determination. "All right, everyone, you've heard the situation. We need to be ready for anything. I want the best of your abilities on this. Let's show the galaxy what humanity is capable of." Her crew nodded, their faces set with resolve. The wandering Fortune had weathered many storms, but this would be their greatest challenge yet. The rift awaited, a gaping wound in the fabric of the universe, and humanity's bravest were about to step into its depths to mend the stars. The preparations began in earnest. The ship's systems were checked and rechecked, supplies were gathered, and the crew readied themselves mentally and physically for the unknown. Sarah stood on the bridge, gazing out into the void, her thoughts filled with the gravity of their mission. The rift was not just a tear in space, it was a chance to prove that humanity's spirit could overcome even the most daunting cosmic trials. Into the abyss. The wandering Fortune was a hive of activity as the crew prepared for their imminent journey into the galactic rift. Every corner of the ship was buzzing with the sound of machinery and the murmur of focused voices. Captain Sarah paced the bridge, her mind racing with thoughts of what lay ahead. "How's the status on the rift calculations?" she asked, turning to the ship's chief navigator, Lieutenant Rail. Rail, a seasoned officer with a sharp mind for star charts, was hunched over a console, inputting data. "Just finishing up the final adjustments, Captain," Rail replied, not looking up from the screen. "The rift's fluctuations are highly unpredictable, but we should be able to navigate through it with the adjustments we've made." Sarah nodded, her eyes flicking to the holographic display that continued to show the chaotic energy of the rift. The colors swirled and twisted, an ever-shifting maelstrom of cosmic forces. The display was a constant reminder of the task at hand and the dangers they would face. "How are the shields holding up?" Sarah inquired, turning her attention to Chief Engineer Malik, who was overseeing the ship's power systems. "Reinforced and ready, Captain," Malik responded with a nod. "We've boosted the shield generators to handle the extreme conditions inside the rift, but we'll need to monitor them closely. Any sudden spikes could overload the systems." The crew's diligence was evident. Every department was working at peak efficiency, driven by the gravity of their mission. Sarah felt a surge of pride for her crew, knowing that they were about to undertake something far beyond their usual operations. As the final preparations were made, Sarah gathered her senior officers for a briefing in the conference room. The room was filled with the hum of anticipation as the crew assembled. "All right, everyone," Sarah began. "We're about to enter the rift. This is uncharted territory for us, and we need to be prepared for anything. Our primary objectives are to stabilize the rift and prevent further damage to the galactic core. We don't have much information on what we'll encounter inside, but we know it won't be easy." She glanced around at her officers, meeting their determined gazes. "I want all stations manned and ready for immediate response. The environment inside the rift will be volatile, and we might encounter hostile entities or dangerous anomalies. Stay sharp and trust your training." The room buzzed with murmurs of agreement. The crew was focused and ready, each person aware of the gravity of their task. As they prepared to embark on their journey, Sarah felt a sense of unity and purpose that bolstered her confidence. "Captain," Rail called out as the meeting concluded, "we're ready to proceed. The navigation systems are set, and the ship is in optimal condition." Sarah took a deep breath and nodded. "Let's do this." The wandering Fortune approached the rift's edge. The view from the bridge was breathtaking and daunting. The swirling vortex of energy loomed ahead, a churning mass of cosmic forces that seemed to reach out with tendrils of raw power. The ship's sensors and monitors were on high alert, tracking every fluctuation in the rift's energy. "Engage the rift jump sequence," Sarah commanded, her voice steady despite the tension. The crew sprang into action, their movements precise and practiced. The ship shuddered as it crossed into the rift. The familiar stars and galaxies of normal space twisted and blurred as the ship entered the chaotic maelstrom. The wandering Fortune was engulfed in a whirlwind of colors and energies, the ship's systems struggling to keep up with the shifting conditions. Inside the rift, the atmosphere was dense with energy. The ship's shields flared with every new wave of cosmic turbulence, and the crew worked diligently to keep the systems stable. The bridge was a hive of activity, with officers and engineers monitoring every aspect of their passage. "Captain, we're approaching a disturbance," Rail announced. "It looks like a cluster of energy anomalies ahead. We'll need to navigate carefully." Sarah's eyes were fixed on the display as she directed the ship through the turbulent energy. The anomalies appeared as flickering distortions, each one a potential hazard that could damage the ship or disrupt their path. The crew's expertise was evident as they maneuvered through the hazards, their focus unwavering. "We've got incoming readings from an unknown source," the sensor operator reported. "It's not clear if it's natural or something else." Sarah tensed. The unknown could mean anything, from hostile forces to environmental hazards. "Prepare for potential contact," she instructed. "We need to be ready for anything." As the ship advanced, the unknown source revealed itself, a series of colossal energy formations that seemed to pulse with a malevolent intelligence. The formations appeared to be alive, shifting and changing in ways that defied understanding. "Captain, these formations are interfering with our sensors and navigation systems," Rail said, his voice tinged with concern. "We're losing track of our position." Sarah felt a surge of determination. They couldn't afford to be lost in this chaotic environment. Divert power to the navigational sensors and stabilize the shields. "We need to maintain our course." The crew worked swiftly to implement the adjustments. The ship's systems groaned under the strain as they fought to keep the ship on course. The energy formations loomed closer, their presence a looming threat. Just as the ship seemed to be enveloped by the energy formations, a blinding flash erupted from the formations, and the ship was thrown into darkness. The crew braced themselves as the ship was tossed violently, the very fabric of reality seeming to warp around them. "Report," Sarah shouted over the din. "What's happening?" The sensors came back online, showing a disorienting jumble of images and data. The energy formations had vanished, replaced by an eerie calm. The ship was adrift, surrounded by an oppressive silence. "We've been temporarily cut off from our previous position," Rail said, his voice steady. "It's going to take some time to recalibrate our systems and re-establish our bearings." Sarah glanced at the display, her mind racing. The calm was deceptive. They had entered a new phase of their journey, and the challenges were far from over. "Stay alert," she commanded. "We're in uncharted territory now. We need to be prepared for anything." As the crew resumed their efforts to stabilize the ship and regain their bearings, Sarah took a moment to reflect on the gravity of their mission. They were deep within the rift, facing challenges beyond their wildest expectations. But their resolve was unshakable. Humanity's ingenuity and courage were their greatest assets, and they would need every bit of it to navigate the depths of the galactic rift and complete their mission. The abyss revealed. The wandering Fortune floated in the void of the rift, the ship's internal lights casting long shadows on the walls as the crew worked tirelessly to stabilize their position. The once familiar hum of the ship's engines now sounded more like an echo in a vast, dark expanse. The crew, worn but determined, continued their efforts as they navigated through this strange new environment. Captain Sarah Grom stood at the front of the bridge, her gaze fixed on the main viewport. The rift's chaotic energy had given way to a hauntingly still expanse. The stars and cosmic matter that once surrounded them had disappeared, leaving only a dense, swirling mist of energy that seemed to pulse with its own rhythm. It was as if they had entered a realm beyond the known universe. "How are we doing on the recalibration?" Sarah asked, turning to Lieutenant Rail, who was engrossed in recalibrating the ship's sensors. "Getting there, Captain," Rail replied, his fingers flying over the controls. It's a complex process. The rift's energy fluctuations are interfering with our sensors, making it difficult to pinpoint our exact location. We're also experiencing some spatial distortions. Sarah nodded, her mind racing with the possibilities of what they might encounter next. The unknown was always daunting, but the stakes were higher than ever. Their mission to stabilize the rift and prevent further damage to the galactic core was more critical than ever. As Rael continued his work, Chief Engineer Malik approached with a concerned expression. "Captain, we're experiencing intermittent power fluctuations. It seems the rift's energy is causing strain on our systems. We've managed to stabilize the shields for now, but we might need to make further adjustments to avoid any critical failures." Sarah's eyes narrowed in thought. "Understood. Keep a close watch on the systems. If we encounter any additional issues, let me know immediately." The crew's determination was palpable. Each member of the team was focused on their specific tasks, their eyes fixed on their screens and instruments. The air was thick with tension, a silent acknowledgement of the dangers they faced. Suddenly, the ship's sensors emitted a series of rapid beeps, drawing everyone's attention to the main display. An unidentified object had appeared on the sensors, a massive dark shape moving against the backdrop of the rift's energy. "Captain, we have an incoming object on an intercept course," Rael announced, his voice tinged with alarm. "It's large and moving at high velocity. We can't determine its exact nature from the current readings." Sarah's pulse quickened. The appearance of an unknown object in such a volatile environment was a serious concern. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers," she ordered, "and bring up visual on the main screen." The main viewport flickered to life, revealing a vast, dark silhouette approaching the ship. The object was immense, its form shifting and undulating as it moved through the rift's mist. It seemed to be composed of swirling dark energy, its surface constantly changing. "Captain, it's a colossal energy construct," Rael said, his eyes wide with awe. "I've never seen anything like it. It doesn't match any known spacefaring species or technology." Sarah's mind raced. The object's nature was unknown, and its intentions were even more uncertain. "Maintain a safe distance and attempt to communicate. Let's see if we can establish any contact." The crew worked quickly to send out a series of communication signals, using a range of frequencies to reach the mysterious entity. The ship's speakers crackled with static as the signals were transmitted, but there was no immediate response. Minutes stretched into hours as the ship drifted through the rift, the energy construct moving alongside them. The crew remained on high alert, their senses sharp for any signs of danger or communication. Just as hope began to wane, a response finally came. The static on the communication channels cleared, and a deep, resonant voice echoed through the ship's speakers. "Intruders, why have you come to the abyss?" The voice was both ethereal and unsettling, reverberating with a sense of ancient power. The crew exchanged nervous glances as Sarah stepped forward, her voice steady as she responded. "We are explorers from the human vessel, the Wandering Fortune. We seek to stabilize the rift and prevent further damage to the galactic core. We mean no harm and wish to understand this place." There was a moment of silence before the voice spoke again, its tone shifting to something more contemplative. "You seek to repair the rift? Few have ventured into the abyss with such intentions. Many are driven by greed or power. Why should we aid you?" Sarah took a deep breath, choosing her words carefully. "Our mission is one of preservation. We have no intention of exploiting or damaging anything. We want to ensure that the rift does not cause further harm to the galaxy. If you have any knowledge or assistance to offer, it would be greatly appreciated." The energy construct seemed to shimmer with an inner light, its form shifting as if in deep thought. "Very well," the voice said finally. "If your intentions are true, we will offer guidance. The abyss holds many secrets, and you must tread carefully. Follow the path of the stars, and you will find what you seek." The communication ended, leaving the crew in stunned silence. Sarah took a moment to process the encounter, her mind already shifting to the next steps. Rail, plot a course according to the guidance we received, Sarah instructed. Let's see where this path leads us. The crew worked to adjust the ship's trajectory, following the faint signals that seemed to guide them through the rift. As they moved forward, the energy construct remained in view, its presence a constant reminder of the unknown forces at play. Hours turned into days as the ship continued its journey through the abyss. The crew faced numerous challenges, from navigating through dense energy fields to repairing systems affected by the rift's unpredictable forces. Each member of the crew remained focused, their resolve unshaken despite the mounting difficulties. One day, as the ship moved through a particularly dense area of the rift, the mist began to clear, revealing a strange and wondrous sight. Ahead, a massive floating structure emerged from the void, a colossal, crystalline edifice that seemed to pulse with a soft, rhythmic glow. "Captain, we're approaching the structure," Rail announced, his voice filled with awe. "It matches the descriptions from the ancient texts. This might be a key to stabilizing the rift." Sarah's heart raced with excitement and anticipation. "Prepare for approach. Let's see what secrets this structure holds." As the wandering fortune drew closer to the crystalline edifice, the crew could see intricate patterns and symbols etched into its surface. The structure seemed to resonate with an ancient energy, its glow casting a soft light across the ship. The ship's sensors detected a stable energy field around the structure, suggesting that it was a focal point of the rift. The crew prepared to dock and explore, knowing that their next steps could be crucial to their mission's success. The structure loomed before them, an enigmatic beacon in the depths of the abyss. The crew's preparations continued, their focus unwavering as they prepared to uncover the secrets that lay within and discover how they might use this ancient construct to stabilize the rift and complete their mission. The heart of the abyss. The wandering fortune floated in the shadow of the colossal crystalline structure, its gleaming surface reflecting the ship's lights in a dance of shimmering colors. The crew's excitement was palpable as they prepared to dock with the structure. It was clear that this was no ordinary object. Its presence in the abyss was significant, and they hoped crucial to their mission. Captain Sarah Grom stood at the command console, her gaze fixed on the viewport. "Everyone prepare for docking. We don't know what we'll find inside, so stay alert and be ready for anything." Lieutenant Rail adjusted the ship's controls, guiding the vessel towards the structure. "Docking in 3, 2, 1. We're in position." The ship's docking clamps extended, securing the wandering fortune to the crystalline edifice. The crew began their preparations for the next phase of their mission, exploring the structure and uncovering its secrets. Chief Engineer Malik checked the ship's systems one last time. "Captain, the docking is secure. We're ready to disembark." Sarah nodded, turning to her team. "Let's move out. We need to gather as much information as we can. Stay close and keep your communicators on." With a final check of their equipment, the crew exited the ship and stepped onto the surface of the structure. The crystalline material beneath their feet was smooth and cool, and the air around them seemed to hum with a low-frequency resonance. The glow of the structure illuminated their path, casting eerie shadows across the walls. The team made their way towards an entrance, a large archway carved into the crystal. Strange symbols and patterns adorned the walls, their significance unclear but undoubtedly important. The entrance led to a dark corridor, its walls lined with the same pulsating crystal. As they ventured deeper into the structure, the crew encountered various chambers filled with artifacts and data panels. The technology was unlike anything they had ever seen. The data panels glowed with an otherworldly light, displaying information in an alien script. Lieutenant Rail approached one of the panels, his brow furrowed in concentration. "These symbols, they're not like anything in our database. It's a complex code, possibly an ancient language." Chief Engineer Malik examined the technology with fascination. "It's possible that this structure was built by an advanced civilization. The energy signatures are unlike any we've encountered." Sarah examined the surroundings, noting the intricate designs and the pulsating energy that seemed to flow through the walls. Keep your eyes open. There might be clues here that could help us understand how to stabilize the rift. As they continued their exploration, the crew entered a grand chamber at the heart of the structure. The chamber was vast, its walls adorned with enormous crystal formations that seemed to channel energy from the surrounding rift. In the center of the chamber stood a large console, its surface covered in glowing runes. Rael approached the console, studying the symbols with intense focus. "Captain, this console appears to be the central control system. If we can decipher its functions, we might be able to use it to influence the rift." Sarah nodded. "Let's see what we can do. Malik, assist Rael with the console. The rest of us will keep an eye out for any potential threats." As Malik and Rael worked on the console, Sarah and the others continued to explore the chamber. The air was thick with anticipation, and every sound seemed amplified in the vast space. Suddenly, the console emitted a soft chime, and a new set of symbols appeared on its surface. Rael's eyes widened with realization. This looks like a command interface. We might be able to use it to send a signal or control the rift. Sarah moved closer, her gaze fixed on the symbols. "What kind of command are we looking at?" Anne had begun. Rael traced a finger over the symbols, his expression determined. "It seems to be a control sequence for stabilizing or modifying the energy flows within the rift. If we can input the correct sequence, we might be able to stabilize the rift from here." Chief Engineer Malik adjusted the console's settings, his expertise coming into play. "We'll need to synchronize the console with our ship's systems to ensure that any adjustments we make are precise. This is our chance to correct the rift." The team worked quickly to interface their ship's systems with the console. The process was complex, involving multiple steps to ensure that the commands were correctly transmitted and interpreted. As they worked, a low rumble echoed through the chamber, and the walls began to shimmer with an intense light. The energy within the structure was fluctuating, and the crew could see the effects of their efforts on the rift outside. The rift's chaotic energy seemed to stabilize, its violent fluctuations calming as the team input the command sequence. The console emitted a series of beeps, and the chamber's illumination shifted to a steady, soothing glow. The structure's energy field stabilized, and the rift's turbulent appearance began to subside. The crew's faces reflected a mix of relief and cautious optimism. "We did it," Sarah said, her voice filled with a mixture of pride and exhaustion. "The rift is stabilizing." Rael wiped sweat from his brow, his eyes still glued to the console. "We've managed to get it under control for now, but we need to ensure that the stabilization is permanent. We should monitor the rift and make further adjustments as needed." Chief Engineer Malik nodded in agreement. "We'll need to keep a close watch on the energy readings and make any necessary fine-tuning to maintain stability." Sarah took a deep breath, her mind already considering the next steps. "Let's return to the ship and ensure that the stabilization holds. We've made significant progress, but there's still work to be done." The crew made their way back to the Wandering Fortune, their spirits lifted by the successful stabilization of the rift. As they boarded the ship and prepared to leave the crystalline structure, Sarah took one last look at the ancient edifice. The structure had revealed its secrets, providing a crucial breakthrough in their mission. The journey through the abyss was far from over, but the crew of the Wandering Fortune had taken a significant step towards ensuring the safety of their galaxy. Their resolve remained strong, and they were prepared to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The heart of the abyss had been revealed, and with it, a new chapter in their missio, a new dawn. The Wandering Fortune floated in the calm of the abyss, the once turbulent rift now a stable, shimmering phenomenon thanks to the crew's efforts. Captain Sarah Grom stood at the command console, gazing out at the transformed rift with a mix of satisfaction and contemplation. The ancient crystalline structure that had been their focal point had been left behind, but its significance in their mission was undeniable. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the Galactic Council," Lieutenant Rael announced, his voice steady as he glanced at his console. Sarah turned to face him, her expression serious. "Put it through." The holographic image of an older, authoritative figure appeared before them. It was Counselor Nara, the head of the Galactic Council's Interstellar Affairs Division. Her expression was one of relief and gratitude. "Captain Brom, I trust you've managed to stabilize the rift." Counselor Nara's voice was calm, but carried an edge of urgency. "Yes, Counselor. The rift is now stable. We were able to use the ancient structure's technology to control the energy fluctuations and ensure that the rift no longer poses a threat to the galaxy," Sarah reported. Nara nodded approvingly. "Excellent work. We've been monitoring the rift's stabilization from here, and the results are promising. Your efforts have averted a potential disaster. We need to understand more about the technology you encountered. Please provide a full report on your findings." "We'll compile the data and send it to you as soon as possible," Sarah replied. "There's also a significant amount of information about the ancient civilization that constructed the structure. We believe it could provide valuable insights into their technology and history." "That would be highly beneficial," Nara said. "In the meantime, we're dispatching a team of researchers to assist with the analysis. Your contribution to the galaxy's safety has been invaluable. We look forward to your full report." With a final nod of acknowledgement, Counselor Nara's image faded, leaving the crew of the Wandering Fortune to reflect on their achievements. The ship's crew exchanged smiles, their fatigue momentarily forgotten in the face of their success. "All right, team," Sarah said, her voice carrying the weight of both relief and determination. "We've accomplished our primary mission, but there's still a lot to do. We need to finish our analysis, send our findings to the Council, and prepare for whatever comes next." Chief Engineer Malik nodded. "We should start by reviewing the data we collected from the crystalline structure. There's likely more to uncover, and we need to ensure that our stabilization efforts are fully understood." Lieutenant Rail turned back to his console, ready to assist Malik with the data analysis. "I'll begin processing the data and preparing the report for the Council. It's important that we present our findings clearly and comprehensively." As the crew busied themselves with their tasks, Sarah took a moment to look out at the rift once more. The calm, stabilized energy field was a stark contrast to the chaos that had preceded it. The mission had been challenging, but it had also reaffirmed her faith in the strength and resilience of her crew. The days that followed were a whirlwind of activity. The crew of the Wandering Fortune worked diligently to compile their report, analyzing the ancient technology and documenting their findings. Their efforts were met with praise from the Galactic Council, and their contributions were recognized as a pivotal moment in galactic history. News of the rift's stabilization spread throughout the galaxy, and the crew received messages of thanks and congratulations from various factions and allies. The crisis had been averted, but the implications of their discovery were far-reaching. As the final touches were put on their report, Sarah gathered her crew in the ship's common area for a debriefing. The atmosphere was one of camaraderie and accomplishment. "I want to take a moment to acknowledge each of you," Sarah began, her voice filled with pride. "Your dedication, expertise, and teamwork have been extraordinary. We faced incredible challenges, but we met them head-on and succeeded. I couldn't be prouder of what we've accomplished." The crew members exchanged smiles and nods of agreement. They had become more than just a team. They were a family bound by their shared experiences and their commitment to their mission. Sarah continued, "Our work here isn't over. We've made significant progress, but there's still much to learn and many challenges ahead. We'll continue to explore, to push the boundaries of our understanding, and to protect the galaxy from threats both known and unknown." The crew cheered, their spirits lifted by Sarah's words. They were ready for whatever the future held, confident in their abilities and their unity. As the Wandering Fortune prepared to set course for their next adventure, the crew looked forward with optimism and anticipation. The abyss had revealed its secrets, and the journey of discovery was far from over. Together, they would face new challenges, uncover new mysteries, and continue to explore the vastness of space. With the rift stabilized and their mission accomplished, the wandering fortunes sailed into the unknown, ready for the next chapter in their incredible journey. The stars awaited, and the adventures of the crew were only just beginning.